Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for coming on the Thrival Nutrition podcast. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Absolutely. So my name is Jay Nixon. I am a fitness coach, nutritionist. The best way to describe myself is I'm just somebody who really cares about, we all have these like professional bios. And if you read mine, it's obnoxious. I'm an author, a speaker, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is I'm a guy who really just cares about people. And I just want to help them live a better life through fitness and nutrition, is kind of like that being the medium, and just help them be their best self in any way possible.
I agree. I'm the same way. It's so funny that you say that. A lot of people do have the titles that they say, but it's like ultimately, I just think it's awesome what I do, what you do, because it's funny being in the space. You feel like there's so many people doing what you're doing, but there actually isn't, compared to like how many people are out there and how many people need your help. And it's awesome. So I'm very grateful that there's trainers like you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us the story about what's made you write your book, The Overweight Mind. What's behind that?
Yeah, the funny thing is I'll kind of tell a little bit of the backstory of how I came to the idea. So I think I was on a plane. I can't even remember where I was flying to. And it just hit me like the word, the overweight mind, that I'm like, this is the problem. Like, it's not the best exercise. It's like people know what to eat. There's so many books, there's so many diets, and there's so many perfect exercises and things like that. And all my clients, everything kept coming back to the mental side of things. Like, and I finally just got this notion that like, that's the piece that's broken. And so that's kind of how I started teaching and coaching, was really like 80% psychology or mindset, and then focusing 20% like on the mechanics of like, eat this, don't eat that, or do this workout or do that workout. And it was really just based on like my clients coming to me and like the things they were saying. I just listened, and it was all mental. It wasn't, they know the difference between a kale salad and a donut. Like I didn't need to, I didn't need to break that news to them. Like they were aware of that, but they weren't aware that the mental mindset that they had was the real thing that was holding them back from achieving their goals.
Okay. Give me an examples of what you see a lot of people having the wrong mental mindset.
Absolutely. So, just so people know, like, so the book is like zero, eat this, don't eat that. It's like really step-by-step process. And so one of the big things that I find with people, and you probably do this too when you're coaching a new client, is the language that they use is totally detrimental to their success. So they're really stuck in this like can't, won't, don't, like this really negative, vicious, feedback loop. And so one of the things I get them to do right off the bat is just change their vocabulary. I get them to pay attention to the words they're using. And then I get them to see like the negative, like, the circle that they get involved in and how that's holding them back from getting where they want to go. That's one of the easiest first steps.
Yeah. And it's so true, because I feel like there's always the excuses right there in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they don't, I don't know, maybe they lost belief in themselves, but they just never I have a lot of clients that just don't come in being confident.
Yeah.
That is a part of taking away the excuses and changing the way they talk about themselves and look about themselves too.
Yeah.
What are some of the women's biggest obstacles that you think you see often?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like that limiting self-belief and like the negative self-talk. So I would say probably 95% of my clients are female. That's in my studio and in my coaching business. I think females are more apt to ask for help. Men, like, we're super cool. Like, we know everything. Like, we're really smart. Like, we don't need your help. And so, and guys, I'm not making fun of you, but it's just, I'm a dude and I get it. Like, we have this ego thing going on. But women, they've lost the belief in themselves. And so one of the first things I tell them is like, my belief in you is going to be stronger than your belief in yourself at the beginning. And what we're going to do is get that to shift. I'm going to get you to believe in yourself like I believe in you. And that's usually come through like maybe a bad relationship. You know what I mean? Like someone, not treating them like they should be treated. Could be a boss, could be a family member, could be a coworker, could be a lot of things. But most people just have this like negative self-belief. They don't believe in themselves anymore.
I was going to ask, like, what do you think is the reasoning why this all starts? And it's probably the influences.
It's always an event. Like, it's always like a major, I would say a major life event, but it's always something that happened in their past. Could have been when they were a kid. Could have been growing up and they were overweight, or they got teased, or it could have been like a bad relationship, could be a bad work relationship. It's always like something, like they've been damaged mentally by something or somebody. And that's what leads them to have like this don't have a belief in themselves. And they've probably tried and failed at I hate the diet word, but they've probably failed at a diet before.
Right.
And then they start to lose. I always tell people, like, if you've done Weight Watchers for like the 27th time, like it doesn't work.
Right.
Not the Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers isn't the problem. It's everything else that's the problem. And we got to fix this so that everything else can start to work.
Right, right. I even had clients before that maybe they didn't lose a lot of weight in the beginning, and I'm still working with them. But sometimes they have like, I feel good just because my mentality has changed on food and like getting out of that diet phase, because that's very hard for people to get out of, to be honest. So why do you think the whole exercising more, coming from a personal trainer perspective, and eating less is not working? But when I say it, it's so like common sense why it wouldn't work, but most people believe that.
Right. It's a broken formula. It's like I just said a while ago, it's like, I firmly believe, and I'm so convicted about this, that it really is like way more psychological and mental based than it is like the mechanical side. And we've proven it over and over again, like you just said, that is a broken formula. Like it just does not work. I always use the analogy of anytime I go to a big box gym, like your major gyms, and, because if I'll, just to get out of my own studio, I'll go like work out at a gym, and you see the same people in there over and over and over again, and they never change year after year after year. And they're working out like crazy. I see them every day.
Yeah.
But their body never changes. And so that's really the broken formula. People think they can out exercise a bad diet. And if we haven't proven that by now, that that's the biggest myth in the world, then I don't know that we ever will.
Yeah, for sure. How long do you feel like the change, like how long from maybe when you start working with a client to when you actually see them change their mindset, become more confident, and just feel better?
Everybody's obviously different. Like some people are like, I think it depends on where they are in their readiness, like where they are in that really like that tipping point to change. So it depends on where I get them in that phase. But I would say it's as quick as like 3 weeks where they start to like, you know what, I am talking differently. I'm having different conversations. I'm not allowing myself to like go down those negative rabbit holes that I used to before. And then for some clients, it's like 3 months, 6 months. And then they'll wake up. Like I had a client the other day that has lost like 50 pounds or something like that. And so she wrote this, great little thing on Facebook. And at the end she said, and the weight loss is really cool, but who I've become in the process is way more valuable. And I just got cold chills when I said that, because like that's why I do what I do.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I wish we didn't even have to weigh clients, don't you? Like I wish that scales weren't a thing, and I wish that measurements weren't a thing, and I wish we could just, go on like tangible things, like, the way they feel.
Right. It's hard for me to get out of like the whole calories, because people are just like want numbers. Maybe they just want something they can see and feel.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, you have to get out of looking at food as just calories and just numbers.
Right.
Just, I don't know. It's funny if you think our ancestors, they weren't like, I can only have 5 calories of blueberries. Like,
right. Well, I think, I told this to the client the other day. So I get clients that get so caught up in like the tracking of like, okay, Jay, I want to track my everything, like every number known to man. Like I want to have flow charts and spreadsheets. And I always say to them, I'm like, let's just hit the pause button. And I'm like, why would you want to convolute the system, right? Like we're just really trying to teach you how to eat better for the rest of your life. And I know in 20 years, you're not going to want that abacus and your spreadsheets and you're going to have to hire somebody to do your numbers for you. Just learn how to eat and learn how your body feels when you eat certain foods.
Yeah, definitely. And behind the obvious eating healthier, exercising, what are some of your, like, someone that can take tidbits to get to a healthier weight?
Yeah. So just from the mental aspect, I mean, there's so many things. Like I wish I could just like regurgitate them all to you so everybody could get little nuggets. But I think that one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and I call it like your circle of success, is, and this is probably for all you newbies that are like just, kind of coming into your weight loss journey. Whenever you start to like live this different lifestyle and you start to do things differently, you're not eating the same foods, you're not, you're not going to the happy hours like you used to, or if you go, you're not like consuming the beverages that you used to, and you're not eating the chicken wings or the nachos, that's going to make people that you've hung around with forever feel a little bit uncomfortable because you're being different. And so what happens when a human being feels uncomfortable is we want, like, I want you to be like you used to be. And so I will try to drag you back down to that 6 beers and nachos that you used to be. And so what I would tell you guys is just be comfortable in those uncomfortable situations and know that that person's not mad at you. They're just trying to figure out how to deal with your new life change. And so be careful of your circle of success, be very mindful of that, and just start to be aware of who's pulling you in which directions.
I'm glad you said that, because I have actually a couple clients that come to mind, and they are from different cultures from around the world. They live here, but they are from different countries. So they have different things, whether it's alcohol. I'm trying to think. I know the whole friend circle, but a lot of their friends are from, that same country too.
Right.
And so drinking and all that stuff is really, really big. And so it's so hard, because I can't just say, go make new friends, which is a good idea, but I can't say that.
Right.
So like, what would you say in like that, besides being like, becoming comfortable, like, is there, I don't know, do you give them like healthier ways to?
Yeah. You know what? So this really comes up with, I'd say 90% of my clients. Like they always, like when we're doing a coaching call or something of that nature, they always say, you know what, I'm really struggling with person X. And it could be a coworker. It could be a family member. It could be, a spouse in some sense. Right. If you're not in it together and you start to, I was talking like terms of energy. I would say like when your energy is vibrating up here and someone else's energy is down here, it's very hard for you guys to connect. Like there's going to be that gap in the middle where that's where the uncomfortableness is. And so I think what's really, really most important is that they are comfortable with their decision and that they really have to stand firm in, and you don't have to be like crazy about things. Like you don't have to you don't have to wave the flag of like, I'm different now. And you're not. It's just really simple. So you eat before you go places. If you go to a happy hour, like get a drink and sip on it for the entire time. You don't have to have 12. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then nobody's going to question that. It's, and if they do, you just say, you know what, I'm really on this new journey. And I'd love for you to be on it with me. And you give them the information. If they don't choose to go that route, then it's okay. Like you don't hold it against them.
Right. I always try to tell my clients, I'm like, you should be in charge of where to go, because here in Austin, we have so many good local farm to table places. I'm like, they get the same cool vibe, they have drinks, but really good foods to choose from. I'm like, you need to be in charge, if anything, of where you choose to go. So there is something you can eat and you're not feeling weird, and you can actually drink and
100%. And I always tell them this, I'm like, anybody who ever judges you for not eating certain foods or drinking certain beverages is crazy. Like, that's just crazy. Like, if I came to your house and I would like, almost like, I'm like, why aren't you going to eat this? Like, I'm disgusted with you all of a sudden because you won't eat nachos. Like, that's a crazy person. Like you can't rationalize with a crazy person. You just have to look at it and be like, well, I don't know.
I feel, and it does sound crazy, but there are people that are like that. And honestly, there are a lot of people that are like that. Maybe not so severe, but there are just a little bit. And I think it's a guilt that's within them. And they just want to bring you down to.
It makes them feel uncomfortable because they haven't made the decision to make a change. I really see it a lot with family. So like in certain cultures, like certain foods have always been present. And so when you go to a party, like, I always make a joke with my clients. I call her Grandma Boo Boo. And I'm like, Grandma Boo Boo has been cooking the same dish for like ever. And like, just because you don't eat it doesn't mean you don't love Grandma Boo Boo, right? And she's still going to love you if you don't eat it. So, but people are like, well, they're going to be mad at me. And I'm like, they shouldn't be mad at you because you don't want to overindulge. And put some on your plate, have 2 bites of it, call it a day. Like, you don't have to make a production about it. You don't have to walk around telling everybody like, I am not eating that pie today. Like, just don't make a big deal about it. Like, just be cool.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some 3 actionable tips that listeners could take for today to get to a healthier weight, get to a healthier mindset?
Yeah, one of the things that comes to my mind, like right off the top, is so I just did this little talk on like New Year's resolutions, and we're all kind of in that same like vein. So like, I read a study in the Journal of Clinical Psychology, like 8% of New Year's resolutions come true. Like they don't, like that's how many like actually happen. Like that's a horrible percentage, right? So, you'd never take those odds. And so one of the things I get my clients to do, and I think is a pretty cool thing, and I've done this for myself with my own personal circle of success forever, is that we pick what we call like our word of the year. And so that word is something that it's almost like a mantra, if you will, so that when you feel yourself kind of becoming like uncentered, or you get in one of those situations where you're kind of like out of state because like people are questioning you or giving you a hard time, you can always kind of recall this word really quickly. So I'll use myself as an example. My word for the year is the word purpose. And so what I do is like every decision that I make, I think of my word. I'm like, okay, does this fulfill my purpose? Does this move me closer to my goals? And then what I do is I use like an index card. And so I'll write my word on my card. And then on my back, I get my clients to write like 3 action steps or 3 musts that they want for the entire year. So if it's weight loss, I say, be very actionable. Like you want to lose like 17 pounds by March the 4th.
Very specific.
Of 2018. It's got to be actionable. It's got to be specific. And then action steps on how you're going to do it. And that way, when you recall your word, then your must will come into play. And you're like, okay, if I'm going to achieve that must, and a must is really just a goal. I just think it's a better word because you must do something. You're way more likely to not have excuses around it. And so that's really something super simple. And it sounds like novel to a lot of people. They're like, well, it's just a word. But I can tell you, like, over the years that I've been using this with my clients, like, it's become really powerful. And then they kind of become, their word kind of becomes their shield, if you will. So that when they're challenged with a situation like the circle of success situation or food situations or whatnot, they can kind of use that word to stand on, to give them a little more power. So that's like one like really easy, like little quick tip. Secondly, I would say like really be careful of the language that you're using. Like, like don't get caught up in like the can'ts, the won'ts, and the don'ts. Like as our society, we're really good at telling people what we don't like, but very rarely do we say what we do like. And so just shift your mentality around like and start telling people what you love as opposed to what you hate.
Okay.
And that includes like, I think social media is a beautiful thing, but I also think it can be very detrimental.
Yes.
And so I'm a firm believer, like I always tell my clients, like we are going to be like a negative free zone. So we're not going to get caught up in negative conversations, whether that be politics, religion, whatever it is.
Right.
We're just going to remove ourselves from those conversations. And like, because that really will get inside your brain and like get you derailed from your goals.
Yeah.
And then lastly, the last tip would be like, find someone who believes in you just as much, or if not more than you believe in yourself. We need people in our lives that are going to lift us up instead of tear us down. And so be very cognizant of like who you're hanging around and the kind of energy that you're associating with. Because if you want to be better, then the people that are in your circle, like I think it's Jim Rohn that says you're as successful as the 5 people you hang around with the most. You got to do an inventory. And like we're saying, I'm not saying you got to fire people. You don't have to write them notes and be like, we can no longer be friends. You're not, you know what I mean? But you can also start to reach out to someone like you. Like, I think coaching is very important. Like anybody who's watching, if they're not working with you, I would say, you know what I mean? Like that's not a sales pitch. Like I'm a huge believer in coaching. Like I have 2 coaches right now, and I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have that positive energy to go to. So we always need somebody in our life that's in a different position than we are.
Yes. And that's, I feel like a really hard rule to implement sometimes is because people are comfortable with who they hang out with. They don't want to go out and meet someone else. But one of my clients, she's like, I just need to go out to eat with you because you always take me to the, I'm like, exactly. Yeah. But you need to find people that are like that. But like you said, people that are also open, maybe they're not doing the same thing as you are, but they're open to it. I mean, there's definitely friends that are more judgy. And then you probably have friends that are just, yeah, sure, I'll go to this with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need that.
Yes. Outside of your book, though, The Overweight Mind, is there any other educational materials that you find that would be helpful?
Gosh, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to like self-growth and stuff. Like, I just love anything that moves you in the direction of being a better person. So I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspaper. And so sometimes people say, well, you're kind of ignorant then, like you don't know what's going on in the world. And I'm like, I may not know what's going on in your world, but I know what's going on in my world. And so I teach my clients that like we create like our own ecosystem. And so inside of my world here is a beautiful place. Like there's no negativity, like, you know, and I think I'm kind of weird like that. But so anything that moves me in the direction of like feeling good, being better. So I love like podcasts like this, like yours. And just, I think a lot of times we think we have to like read like a million books. And so what I try to tell people is like, don't read for sport, right? Like don't read for like, so I said, well, I read 12 books this year or 20 books or 100 books. Like find things that you love. And it may not be the entire book that's relevant, but there may be like little snippets out of that book. And then search for podcasts that are motivating. Go on YouTube and just listen to like motivational, like little, I mean, there's so many little things, like little clips of like 3 minutes long that'll just get you pumped up.
Oh my gosh, that's my husband all the way.
You know, watch one of those before you go work out, before you go into work, and I guarantee it will change your state. And when I say state, it's kind of like just like your energy level of your brain. And so I guarantee if somebody would do that, like before they went into any like either social or business or workout situation, if they would watch or listen to like 60 to 90 seconds of like motivational material, like anything, I guarantee their energy would be different.
It totally changes as a business owner and entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, there's peaks and valleys with growing a business. And so sometimes when you're in that valley, those motivational videos and seeing people where they were and then where they are now, it's sometimes what we need to see to actually be like, keep having faith, having hope, and just like, okay, this is going to work. Just keep trucking along.
Yeah. And even as a fitness professional, even as someone who like, I always say like my body's my business card. Like I look to other people that are like, you know, in better shape than I am, or is, you know what I mean? And that motivates me. So I don't want people to think that like, oh, you two are like, yeah, it's easy for you or it's fitness. It's not, guys. Like you have to do the work. Like you have to constantly be working on this little guy, this little 3-pound monster. And as an entrepreneur, like it can be lonely. Like, you know, you're in your office by yourself and there's nobody to go chat with down the hall. It's just you. And so, yeah, those motivation and that self-help stuff, it makes a difference. I promise.
Definitely. Where can we find your book? Where can we find you?
Absolutely. So my book is theoverweightmind.com. It's available on, you know, all of your Kindles and your readers, and it's also available in hard copy. And then the audio version will be released in probably the next like 7 to 10 days. So I'm really excited about that.
Ooh, yay.
Yeah, that was one of the most challenging things that I've ever done in my life was to record. Yeah.
Okay, so you did it. Because I hate when people have someone else record it. It's just not
it was this raspy voice all day long. Like, and I did it in one day.
Oh my gosh.
And you're probably thinking, okay, you just read your book. It was so challenging. Like, because, you know, you can't read it monotone. Like, you've got to be energetic and you've got, you know, and I'm from the South. Like, I start to get a little twang and I start saying weird words. And like, I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not even on the page. So, yeah, the audio version comes out in like the next 7 to 10 days. So I'm pumped about that. But just theoverweightmind.com or overweightmind.com. And then my website is thrivefitnessstudio.com. And that's really all my social media is either my name, Jay Nixon, or Thrive Fitness Studio.
Awesome. Do you do coaching online? Since I know you're in California, so
yeah, I have virtual clients all over the country, and I even have a couple in Seoul, Korea right now, which is actually pretty cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. It's been so fun.